Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back on a video from a Grand Line Review. It's been a while, but I think this is a really interesting topic of discussion, and I'm really intrigued to learn stuff. So this is about the One Piece remake called The One Piece, is it not? I think it's going to be put on Netflix, and it is being produced by Wit Studios, who originally worked on Attack on Titan before Mappa. So yeah, apparently it's going to be uncensored and different voice actor cast. I think, not 100% sure, but that's why we're checking this video out so we can find out what's actually going on. And I can see me watching this. You guys know I'm manga only when it comes to One Piece, but I'm very intrigued. I'll definitely give it a go.
We have a lot of new information about the One Piece remake by Wit Studio, and I'm going to tell you now, you should be excited. As part of the One Piece Day livestream event, the lead production staff conducted an interview about the project, and we took a tour of their production offices, saw some amazing behind-the-scenes work, and one particular piece of work that may have been accidentally shown. There's something in here that gives a big part away of this project. But they also talk about the advice given to them by Ichiro Oda, which some of you may find quite shocking. I personally find it very refreshing. And I think this is the most promising One Piece project I've seen in my many old man years of following this series. I'm at a point where I believe that this could go on to become the definitive One Piece experience. The one you point to when someone asks, hey, I'm kind of interested in One Piece, how do I start?
This? What? Not even not the manga.
You look at 1,000 chapters of manga, you look at 1,000 episodes of anime, and you go, you know what? The One Piece. Check that one out. See if you like that, and then we'll go from there. But in any case, let me show you why I think that. One of the things that the staff address very early on is that they've purposely hired young artists and animators in their 20s and 30s, and when they do a tour of the office, mate, it is absolutely flooded with youth. These are the up-and-coming rookie animators making waves in the world.
What an opportunity. That's such a cool idea. That's boss.
Almost all of whom were fans of the series when they were children, and that's why they've been brought in.
Oh, mate, I'm loving this already.
Because they know better than anyone else what kind of feeling this project is looking to create, because they were the target audience. So they've been tasked with providing the next generation with that same wonder and amazement that was given to them, which is very in keeping with the One Piece philosophy of generational shift. For a project like this to work, in my opinion, we do need to move away from the established tropes and practices of the Toei anime, a company that is plagued by conventions that they simply refuse to part with. For example, even now in, 2024? Even now, Toei are still using the same sound effects library that they were using for Dragon Ball almost 40 years ago.
That's insane. Like, 40 years ago, still using the same sound effects, same soundboard. That just kind of seems lazy to me, but at the same time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it is also a phrase. But...
4 decades, there has been almost no innovation. It really is time to move on. It is past due time to move on. We are in a new era now, which is reflected in this project as every major staff member in a position of leadership is an Attack on Titan alumni, which is arguably the single series most responsible for bringing anime into the mainstream Western world.
Cool. Like, I don't know if they've changed who runs it in that. I met the 3 head guys of Wit Studios when Attack on Titan 1 first came out. They were at London Comic Con, and they were really cool. They were really sound. Got their autographs in. Oh, my mangas are downstairs. I got all 3 of their autographs in the first volume of Attack on Titan. They couldn't speak a word of English, but they loved being there and had translators to like do it back and forth and that. Like, yeah, Attack on Titan alumni. Mate, that's sick.
Before Attack on Titan, many people couldn't even tell the difference between anime and hentai. That's what Attack on Titan did for us. And what I love is that the Wit Studio team start this interview...
I'm sorry, I've got to say it. When I was at the Comic-Con, my mate, who will remain unnamed, into hentai, nearly bought a hentai version of Attack on Titan to get signed by the guys at Wit Studio. But he kind of like decided not to. It would have been so funny.
Completely geeking out over One Piece. One guy tells a story about how he cried while reading Marineford. Another one explains why Smoker, of all people, is his favorite character. And one of them even has Jinbei as his social media profile picture because he loves the fishman. Which is to say that these aren't just, relatively young professionals at the top of their field doing another job. They're fans with a genuine passion for the source material.
Cool.
And that that passion is felt within the entirety of the staff, which is going to significantly elevate this series. The lead character designer even explains that he spent 2 months straight locked in a room studying Oda's artwork, attempting to replicate and understand it, which is the process of every branch of the arts. First you learn, then you master, then you innovate, in that order. If you try to innovate too early, usually doesn't go well. And interestingly, that's not how a lot of anime begin their process, even ones that are based on manga. Generally, they do use the author's work as a rough guide, but most studios very quickly switch to their own in-house style, which sometimes works and other times loses a lot of the identity and depth intended by the original author. So to be clear here, they're not trying to copy Oda's style, but they are attempting to learn and master it so that they can go on to innovate and express themselves on top of that, to use Oda's work as a fundamental base layer. And something that I'm not sure they intended to show was a staff member drawing a piece of concept art inside of Laboon, and this is big news, because as far as we were aware, their current plans were initially to adapt East Blue and see how things go from
Okay, cool.
there. But they're clearly
Maybe that was, I reckon that was intentional.
already looking beyond that and into the Grand Line, which I think shows the sheer faith that this company and everyone financially backing them has in the show. And we are then dumped with a lot of magnificent concept art. And the level of detail in this pre-production is astonishing. There are whole pages of just like food and dining items and furniture from Kaya's mansion, as well as amazingly detailed interiors where the function of every object in space is accounted for, even though most of them won't ever be used by the characters, and it's background detail that will probably go largely consciously unappreciated. But it's about building that next level of immersion, because unconsciously these settings are going to feel a degree more immersive and tangible than the Toei anime, which has always had to work on this extremely tight weekly schedule, and has never really had the luxury of expanding and dwelling upon elements like this, especially because they didn't even have the full context of the series when One Piece began. Wit Studio, knowing where One Piece is going, can retroactively add so much that Oda brought to the table later on. And they're also thinking about the functions of the locations themselves. For example, how does this village sustain itself? What is their main source of income and such? Which to a lot of you might sound like unnecessary over-the-top thought. I mean, who cares about the industry of the village? And to which I say, mate, we are only at the base of the over-the-top mountain here. They have gone so far above and beyond to something frankly insane, which we'll get to. But thinking about industry seriously impacts aesthetics and the atmosphere of each location. Say if you decide that one location is primarily a fishing village, then all of a sudden you have a very clear blueprint for how to radically distinguish that location from another that focuses on dairy farming. And that is one criticism that I do tend to hear quite commonly about early One Piece, in both the anime and the manga actually. It's that the East Blue locations all feel a bit too similar. Baratier excluded, of course. But the rest of them do feel like they lack the distinguishable identity that later islands would bring. Which isn't a fault of Oda by any means, he was just so young when this manga began.
No, it's very true, because like, as it goes on, whenever you go to somewhere later on, it's so different from the last place. You can tell straight away that it's completely new and there's like lore and story going on. That's cool.
But what I really like is that the One Piece remake is bringing that modern level of One Piece thought and detail to these earlier locations. At one point in the video, they interview one of the prop designers, and she has this stack of French cookbooks on her desk, which I find really cool, because she's researching for how to dress Baratier. And it's not just about bringing Oda's initial...
This is so awesome. The amount of detail and effort they're going into is phenomenal.
...detail to life. It's also about adding to that and putting their own spin on this world, which is something that Eiichiro Oda actively encouraged. In this interview, we're told of his message to the Wit staff, which was not to focus so much on making an adaptation faithful to the manga. Instead, what they should do is digest the manga and make the One Piece in their own style, as an expression of their own. Which is the thing that makes me most excited to watch this project. Because it's not just another reanimation of East Blue. It's not just a one-to-one adaptation of the manga panel by panel. We have that sort of in Toei. This series is supposed to have its own unique and fresh perspective on this story and this world. But in terms of adapting the manga, there is a concept image of Sanji and a very bloodied full body which intrigues me a lot, because it looks like this project isn't going to have the same censorship concerns that the Toei anime had, and honestly does still have. One example of this that I think about every now and then is that in the Toei anime, they never showed Luffy stabbing himself in the face. So if you watch the Toei anime, you never actually find out how Luffy got that iconic scar under his eye. Assumedly because they didn't want to encourage children to stab themselves, because that's the cool thing that the main character did, who we all love. But it's pretty wild, because this action is the very first thing we see of Luffy in the manga, and it immediately establishes him as an unbelievably determined, albeit currently somewhat misguided figure. Which is why when at the end of chapter 1, this child says, "I'm gonna be the Pirate King," saying, despite the fact that he's a child, you believe him. Because you already know how far he's willing to go. It's all the way. And I think that's great because Toei have always been hindered by censorship, not by their choice, but by network choice. Primarily because One Piece has always been programmed into kids' TV time slots. And as a result, it has had to sacrifice a lot. And it's not just about being edgy and going, ooh, I want more blood, so many more bloods. It's about the actions that generate
all the bloods.
Like, say, Zeph severing and eating his own leg, which wasn't in the Toei anime and still causes so much confusion today.
That's weird as well.
Every time they say that Zeph ate his leg, there is always someone in the comments who is like,
what?
Actually, Mr. Internet Man, he didn't. Instead, his leg got incidentally caught and severed underwater, which I think loses a lot of the impact because it takes the decision away from Zeph.
That's mad, because I remember reading the manga and being like, damn, that is powerful. That is powerful. And then non-existent. Wow.
So I'm very excited for an adaptation that is actually allowed to explore the full depth of the manga. Now, something insanely exciting that Wit Studio have been creating are fully explorable 3D maps of entire cities, which again, absolutely wild. The example we get shown is of Shellstown, where they can freely explore the location and play around with camera angles to find all of the most interesting shots. They can put the camera just wherever and see it, and that creates some unexpected niceness. And I want to emphasize that this doesn't mean that the One Piece remake is going to heavily rely on a lot of 3D animation. To my understanding, this is just a tool that allows them to roughly explore what kind of shots are possible, and then use that as a guide to replicate them in 2D animation, instead of just having to copy the manga one for one. And another thing that really excites me from the concept art is the focus on lighting. The original anime has a very charming, flat, vibrant style that definitely works in its own way, but whenever there's a special One Piece anime project like a One Piece film, all of a sudden a lot of care and detail are put into elements of depth like lighting, which significantly elevates those projects and always makes me crave that level of attention for the actual series. And to be fair, from Wano onwards, Toei have been exploring this a lot more. In particular, any episode directed by Megumi Ishitani is practically directed by lighting, because she's really not afraid to go all out with color, angles, and really embracing the idea of darkness as a canvas to sculpt light, which may very well be the wankiest thing I have ever said on this channel, but it's true. And this seems to be more the direction that the One Piece is going in, taking these rare Megumi Ishitani episodes as a test run for what a full series could look like with this style. Now, there has been a bit of controversy on the internet about these concept images and people getting a bit confused about exactly what it is they represent, which is not helped by a lot of official media outlets like IGN, for example. They posted an article claiming that these were a first look at screenshots of the new anime, which they are not. They're concept art. It's incredibly misleading, because now there's a lot of people out there who believe that this is how the anime is going to look. Again, is not. These washed out, sketchy watercolor images are more about creating a guide for shapes, depth, and shots. A proof of concept for the kind of vibe they're going for. And then we have Twitter being Twitter and complaining about how light-skinned the characters are, especially Usopp from this concept art alone. But all of this is because of what I said earlier. The lead character designer thoroughly studied Eiichiro Oda. And Oda's work very early on with colors was this incredibly washed out, almost pastel-like storybook kind of atmosphere. And to me, all of these concept images and character designs are trying to recapture that feeling whilst also expanding on the root of One Piece. The actual anime will not look like this. This is just the base. The anime is going to be vibrant as crap. And right now, it's kind of like looking at the concept art for Lord of the Rings and going, mate, I can't believe that Peter Jackson is going to film this whole trilogy in black and white pencil. That is a bold maneuver. But again, to be fair, a lot of places are incorrectly referring to these as screenshots, so I guess the confusion is understandable. Now, one thing that is not addressed in this interview video is the issue of voice actors. We still have no confirmation on whether the original cast are returning for this project or whether they'll be getting a whole new cast. For my personal opinion, I think we do need a completely fresh set of voices.
Interesting, because a lot of people will now like as if they're going to get different ones, but I feel like if you're going to start off fresh and do something new and different and it's not the same, get a different cast. Why not? I mean, we've got the live action English one, which is like completely different people. Although, did the Japanese get the Japanese cast to dub the Japanese version? Maybe. But I feel like the live action Netflix one has showed us that, you know, we can get like different versions of One Piece and still enjoy it. I liked it. Bring on season 2.
The OG cast are beyond iconic, especially Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper, but if this series is intended for a new generation, then I think what we need to be doing is creating new icons. The original cast are now in their late 50s to early 70s, some of them are in their mid to late 80s, and so they are now the Whitebeards, the Rogers, and the Garps of this industry. And I think it's time for the next generation to take the stage, just like what they're doing with all of the artists and animators. I mean, Mayumi Tanaka, who plays Luffy, will be at least 70 years old by the time that this anime comes out, just the first season of this anime. And she's exhausted. She's done interviews where she said that she has wanted to retire for quite some time now, and that Luffy was going to be her final role. And so I just can't imagine a 70-year-old Mayumi Tanaka signing up to essentially begin that whole journey again.
No,
and to be incredibly blunt and morbid, if this series is successful, I think there's a depressingly decent chance that a lot of the original cast won't even live to see it completed. There's a very depressing chance that many original cast members won't live to see the original Toei series completed. Like, say, Dragon's voice actor, who is 87 years old. So there will never be a better opportunity to cleanly pass on the torch than this anime. And you could do so in a really cool way by giving the original cast the older mentor roles of the series. The ones that they now actually fit. Like, say, make Mayumi Tanaka Dr. Kureha, or give Nami's voice actor the role of Bell, and so on and so forth. But one comment I have been seeing far too frequently is the suggestion that Wit Studio should just reuse the original Toei audio because it's right there. Why bother just re-recording the same lines again? Seems counterproductive. And I think that this take is beyond insane. Primarily because Toei doesn't even use the original Toei audio when they do remakes of their own episodes. Like, say, the episode of Nami and the episode of East Blue. Together with the original anime, that's 3 times that they've done the Arlong arc. And each time it was re-recorded to reflect the different nature of the project. Also, this isn't something that people notice as much as animation, but the audio has aged significantly as well. The reason why you don't notice it is because the 25-year-old audio is paired with the 25-year-old animation, so it feels very natural. But as soon as you take that audio and set it against modern animation, mate, it's gonna feel pretty out of place. It's also completely counterintuitive to the point of the project. Remember Oda's advice to the team that I gave earlier? He told them not to just copy and paste the work that's been done. Don't just recreate something that already exists. You need to add your own expression. Those are Oda's words. And reusing the Toei recordings would be doing exactly what he told them not to do. It would be quite literally copy and pasting. And how are you supposed to express yourself, your own unique voice, when you're locked into decisions made by voices back in the 90s? And really, no one can give me a good reason as to why we should stick with the original voice actors other than, it'll feel a bit weird. And yeah, it would at first, but I think you'll adjust very quickly. And fun fact about the...
It's like with me, when I was watching Dragon Ball Super when it was coming out, I'd only ever watched the English dub. So I was not used to the Japanese voice of Goku. I think like 5 episodes, and I was just like, oh, okay, Sam. So, yeah.
Original voice actors is that the key figures aren't actually the originals. The very first One Piece animation project was an OVA called Defeat the Pirate Ganzak, which I have here on VHS. And it had completely different voices for Luffy, Nami, and Zoro. And I stumbled on this OVA after more than 10 years of watching One Piece and having Mayumi Tanaka thoroughly ingrained into my mind brain. But 5 minutes into the OVA, and it didn't feel weird at all to hear someone else voicing Luffy, because it came with the knowledge that this was just a different project and a different take on the character. And there is one very encouraging thing that came out towards the end of the interview, which is that the staff expressed that if this initial outing goes well, then they are prepared for a very long-term project.
Nice.
Which is exactly what I want. I don't just want another take on East Blue. We've had enough of those. Although I do wish we had more information about a release date. At the moment, everything we're seeing still seems very early on in the process, although I'm still hoping for a 2025 release, probably late 2025, which would be a pretty wild year for One Piece with season 2 of the live action coming out as well. But I don't know, everything's still up in the air. And you let me know what you think about the One Piece anime remake in the comments below, which I may or may not read.
Wow, alright, cool. That's boss. That's nice to get that. So we don't know about the voice actors. Cool. A lot of misinformation being posted around on the old Twitters and whatnot. But awesome. Wit Studio, cool. New, fresh, young people working on this. They could potentially work on this for a while. Fans of the original source material. Oda's on board with it. Telling them, make it your own. I love it. I really think it's going to be cool to see. But we will have to wait and see. And until then, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, I want to be able to watch Patreon-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, Links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for that, and thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. Nick, damn.